Alright, here is the video review for GCreation GDW-02 Rebel, aka their IDW PROWL, the Cybertronian PROWL car mode, which I've always been a big fan of this car mode. I like the design of it since we saw it. I think we originally saw like a design sketch, I think was the first look we got at it, if I recall correctly, but it was in the IDW comics, and I've dug it. And the video itself kind of had a weird genesis, because at the end of the year I said, you know what, instead of me giving my top 10 robots, although I still feel like maybe I should put something together, although it's hard to remember always what I would rank what I got and when stuff came out, because sometimes I get things a few months later, as is the case with this guy. But I asked Twitter followers, I said, is there anything that came out that I haven't reviewed that you would like to see me review? And I got some good suggestions. This was one of them. My follower, Chris, on Twitter said, you should do this guy. And I was like, you know what? This guy's been on my short list of, I would like to pick him up one day. He looks a little fiddly, and that's kind of put me off a little bit, but I would like to pick him up at some point. He always looked interesting to me, and like I said, I do like this design. I like they used a lot of nice color on this. I like the design of the wheels. Every time I saw somebody posting more pictures of him, I was like, I should get him sometime. And I mentioned that, and Chris is like, well, I'll sell you mine for a decent price. So I bought it. Thank you, Chris. He also sent me a little Spider-Man Noir Pop, which is going to go on my desk at work. But, so yeah, now I finally get to check out GCreation's Rebel, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's a fun little figure. Like I said, I love the car mode. Here it is, all armored up. He does have rubber tires, which is cool. Rubber tires, for some reason, especially on a figure that has a little bit of heft to it, there's a friction, there's a feel to it. You can kind of feel just that little bit of bounce that the rubber tire has as you roll it. There's just I guess hand feel is the term Vangelis uses, but there's a really nice tactileness to the way he rolls. I really am digging this vehicle mode. Just by itself, I want to leave him in car mode all the time, and actually he's been in car mode for most of the time that he's been here. But this is his armored up mode. He's got his guns. You can see on each side there's two different types of guns here pegged onto his exterior. A smaller nozzled barreled thing and a double barreled one over here. His shoulder missiles are attached. And he also comes with these nightsticks that have a hinge in the middle that I can only assume is to store them like this under the vehicle. The instructions do not give you any sort of storage. They show put these in his hands in robot mode, but they don't list a storage space. Seeing as how they have this pin at the handle that lets them fold up, this seems like a decent way of storing them. I've had no issue storing them under here. These will probably go back in the box. I don't see a whole lot of, he's a cop, he gets nightsticks, I get it, but I'd rather have him hold his weapons, his guns. But they are there, and you can store them here in the vehicle mode. You just basically just put them in his hands like you would in robot mode, and then just fold them up at that hinge to store under the vehicle mode. They wiggle side to side a little bit, but as long as you close his hands around them, they stay under the vehicle mode just fine. But anyway, there's the armored up vehicle mode. You can, of course, if you want a more basic look, pull the weapons off the side. Keep his shoulder weapons up there. And if you just want the base car look, you can also unpeg. They're pegged in vertically here. There's this little tab right here just pegs in there. You can remove these launchers as well. And then he looks, with the exception of these lights here, then he's more of a standard. They should do some repaints of this into Smokescreen and Blue Streak and some of the other robots that share that mold. But yeah, so there's just the base car, which again, still very fun. I really like this design. I like the canopy. I like the sleekness of it. I like the way it rolls. I like the different size circles on the wheels. He's just a lot of fun. Sorry. like I said, I almost don't even need the robot mode, although it's a Transformer, so we're going to get to the robot mode. And to transform him, we'll go ahead and pop these out of his hands. Just for the time being. Now, they also have this pinhole here. Again, the instructions only show these as go into his hands, take them out at the end of the instructions. So maybe this pinhole serves a purpose. Maybe there's a different way of storing them. Don't know. And if anybody knows, tell me. But whatever. So there's the nightsticks. We'll go ahead and set them off to the side. And honestly, for as fiddly as he looks and as spindly as he looks in robot mode, He's not super tricky to transform. The legs have the most steps. Like the legs are like the first time with the instructions, it's like, what are you asking me to rotate? But once you get it all figured out, it really is a fairly intuitive transformation, especially up on the top. Like I said, the legs are a little complicated. So we'll come back here. We'll go ahead and take these little flaps. These little flaps can lift up or down however you wish, but they fold those down flat. Lift up these little tail lights. You can flip up his feet. Fold these little white panels out. This is a lot of this stuff right now is not functional transformation stuff. It's just some cosmetic stuff that you can go ahead and get out of the way. Because the main part here, we want to take these panels, fold them out to the side. Make sure you can fold them all the way back against the tire like that. And then just start from these two pieces tab together, and then there's two tabs on this white piece that tab into these two gray pieces. So separate the legs. You can see there's that tab, and there's the two tabs that go together here. So separate the legs, detach them from this. And if you want to, you can even go ahead and fold this tab up into the back because you're not going to need it now. So on the leg, there's a lot of pieces that come around here. So take the feet, lift this up a little bit so this piece can fold out. The piece is going to rotate out like that. So fold that flat, and then rotate this down and fold this around like that. And then the legs, again, get this down out of the way, lift this up. There's a double hinge here. You want to pull this down and straight like this. Fold the wheel out. And once this is folded out, you can flip the heel down here. And then this whole piece has a slider right here. So you take this, slide this down, fold this back down like this, and you'll know you've got it lined up right because this tab will tab into the leg here. This tab on the black piece. So make sure that tabs in right there. Before you do that, flip the wheel out. Well, this is still flipped out. Flip the wheel out like that, and again, it will tab. There's a tab here that will tab in out there. Then fold this down and tab this into the side of the leg here, like that. Lift this up, and this piece right here with the shin and foot comes down, tabs in down here. Again, there's a tab, specifically a tab here that will go in here. You can kind of fold this down like that. And then this piece right here, and again, you have to make sure this is tabbed in for this to work. Now that you've got this, you fold this around into the gap here. So this piece ends up sitting on the back of the leg, and this tab goes into the tab inside the outer leg piece. Like that. And you'll know you've got this all done correctly when this tab can fold down, and you can see that square piece just squares off right there inside the leg. So there's a leg done. And you'll know you have it right. There's the tail light there on the side of the leg, some red and blue detailing over here on the inside of the leg. This piece, like, just fold up. I'm not sure exactly where that piece is supposed to go here. You can fold it down into the foot. Personally, I think folding it up in there to kind of cover up those gaps is fine, but whatever. And there's a leg done. And then we just do the same thing over here. So pop this piece out to the side. Rotate it around like that. Bring this down. Pop this piece out. Go ahead and flip the wheel out. Bring it down. Slide it down like this. Bring it down on the double hinge here. Looks like you want this to be straight. And then make sure this can tab into here. Wheel out. Fold this down, bring this down and tab it in. Come on. There we go. Fold this around, tab it into the leg, close that up, bring the heel up, and there you go. Legs are done. Come up to the top, go ahead and lift this up. Like this little white piece kind of fits in this open gap, so lift it up a little bit and slide it out. If this comes untabbed, you're fine. This is tabbed into the arms here. because we're going to need to move those anyway. But lift that up, get that up to the side. These panels can fold all the way up and onto the back like that. Just kind of touch together. Just fold them up as much as you can. Bring these out, pull the arms out to the side. The bumper, bring these bumper pieces up and around to the front. Kind of helps if you, the way the hinge works, it kind of helps if you pop them up there in the middle and then collapse them into the middle. Again, like I said, just extend the shoulders out. Go ahead and untab the canopy here from the back. This, that will let you lift this up and untab this and lift it up. There's a tab on this, on the arm there, that's going to go into the back like that, and then that just kind of folds down over it. And once you've got some clearance here, lift this up and rotate the waist around so the legs are facing forward. Go ahead and fold the chest down past his head, and you can adjust his little collar piece here. And as well as you can fold those down flat. You can see these vents here on either side of his head. Flatten up his little waist piece here. And then the arm flaps, go ahead and lift these up, rotate the arm cannons here to face forward on his arm. And then you rotate the whole arm assembly. You can see there's let me lift this up just a little bit. You can see there's a pin here, a flat pin here, and a flat pin here. And you run a rotate, put his arm straight forward like that, and then rotate this whole arm assembly so those two pin joints are kind of vertically aligned. And then you can fold this down and forward, and you can pull this down a little bit, fold this down onto his back so this cover comes down kind of over the wheel. And officially, you can fold this around to the back if you don't want to see it, but officially this comes up all the way up past here, and then the white piece kind of angles down. It gives him kind of a little flare up there on his shoulder, but you can do it however you want. And again, you can kind of adjust these flaps to sit as vertically up like this or as flat against the shoulder as you want. It's really kind of an aesthetic preference there on how you want his shoulders to look. Right about there looks good, I think. And then do the same thing over on this side. Straighten out. It helps if you straighten out the arm first and then rotate, kind of put your finger right here behind the black piece and just rotate this whole assembly down like that. And you can pull this a little further forward. Bring that up, fold that down. And there he is in his base robot mode. Again, we don't have any armor or weapons on him, but there is his robot mode. He's got a ball joint head, so he can look actually quite a decent. He can't look down quite as much because of his chin, but all around, he's got dual jointed shoulders. Up and down, he's got a bicep swivel. He can fold his arms up pretty nicely. Does have a wrist swivel. His fingers open, but they're all one piece. And again, the wrist swivel there. Has that waist swivel. These little pieces here on his hips can lift up to move his hips front to back, side to side. Thigh swivel, hinge knees. You can fold this exhaust piece down at an angle to get a little bit more bend out of it. He's got some ankle tilt, both on the front and back, as well as the ball joint here on the front ankle and then this piece. So you can get some pretty decent poses, solid poses out of him, even when at extreme extension of the legs. But there's the base robot. And again, the shoulder pieces, I like to take them so they go out. You can see how it kind of, there's two different pieces, how they angle there. I like to put them on like that so they kind of angle out to the side. On the car, I do them differently, and they just peg in right back here behind his, behind the canopy. Let me see if you can see that. You can see the peg hole right in through there on each side. Oh, okay, fine. Oh, that's part of the reason, because I'm going on the wrong side. There we go. You just plug those in. And they're on hinges, so you can lift them up at whatever angle you wish. I like to leave them sitting a little bit closer down to his head, but at a slight angle up. Go back in there, stay in. Although, again, if you don't tab this in all the way, flipping those angles will pop it out pretty easily. there is with the shoulder launchers. And then, like I said, you can have him hold the nightsticks in either hand. And like I said, these will probably get stored in the box. These are not the most amazing things, but he's got a nightstick if you want him to have it. And then he's got the two different guns with the tabs on the handles, so you can have him just open up his hand, and then you can slot that in there, and it actually slots up into the back of his hand. There's a slot back here in his hand, and you can have him hold his guns. So there's PROWL all armored up. And again, there's no, unless this little tab is, this little hole here is supposed to store on something, and I don't see anywhere where that would be possible. There's no real way, if you're not having him hold them in his hands, there's no real way to store these. And that's, like I said, these will probably just go into a box. But yeah, he's pretty solid and cool, and I'm glad I checked him out. I love the little detail, the blue details and small spots all over his body. I think the paint deco is really nice. I'm really, really happy with this one. I'm kind of kicking myself for not checking this one out sooner, because not a whole lot of flaws. Like I said, a little finicky transformation, especially in the legs. And there's a little bit of the way everything sandwiches together down here, you know, with these knee gaps. There's a little bit of a gap through there, but it's a really nice representation of IDW PROWL. Even the back is not super messed up. These pieces don't hinder the waist swivel because it kind of angles out, and that should actually be sitting up a little higher there like that. So just a really nice representation of this design. So yeah, thank you, Chris, for hooking me up and for recommending him, because I would probably have waffled and waffled again for months and not picked him up, and I'm very glad that I did. Real quick, this is the only other, I don't have any of the GCreation or Generation toy versions of this Prime, the IDW Prime. So there is the Toy World version, from Toy World's Orion from several years ago. And you can see that detail-wise, there's a little bit of a difference, but if you just want to get an idea of how big he is and how he scales with a Prime from that era of the comic, there you go. Actually, they don't look too bad. I wish Prime red was a little richer, but that is an old complaint for an old figure that we're not reviewing now, so we'll just leave that one alone. But GCreation's PROWL here is, the Rebel, is a very nice figure. If you've picked it up, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't picked him up yet, I do recommend checking him out. He's pretty nice. Like I said, I'm surprised at how much I'm really enjoying him. But there it is, GCreation GDW-02 Rebel.